Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. In the last video I briefly introduced my little handmade notebooks for audio people, and I uploaded that video and then went out of town for about a week, and to my surprise, pretty much every day I was out of town, more orders for the notebook came in. I got back home straight into 2 long days full of gigs, and then today is a national holiday with no post office service here in the United States. So needless to say, I've got some catching up to do, and to those of you who already placed orders, I've just finished up another batch. I'm packaging them up now, getting them labeled and addressed and sorting out postage, and these will be going out to you this week. So thanks again to everybody who's ordered the books. They'll be coming soon. If you haven't seen the previous video about the notebook, I'll link it below, but this is it. This is the Audio B1, Book 1, and then inside it's really simple, and it's a simple little notebook I came up with in an effort to fill the gap between previously carrying like full-size Moleskine style notebooks and more recently trying to get more consistent with using digital note-taking. I use OneNote personally. I know people like Google Keep and Evernote and things like that, but trying to keep all my notes in one place so they're portable and I can take them all with me has left me with a gap where, especially when I'm meeting clients or meeting band members for the first time on gigs and we're having a little meeting, I just need something quick to jot down an input list for the day, or my routing, or any sort of notes, a stage plot, things like that, phone numbers for the day, production managers. I just needed a little notebook I could have in a pocket on a gig and not notice it. If I carry around a full-size notebook, it's kind of big. It's got enough pages in there for about 20 gigs. For me, trying to take notes directly to an iPad or iPhone, especially when you're having like a creative meeting with a number of people on a job site, I just find it a little bit too slow, and honestly it feels a little bit rude. You know, if we're having a creative meeting with the crew and band members and things like that, and I'm sitting here like this trying to type notes and make a drawing on my phone, I'm not engaged with these people, and it's hard to have a creative discussion if everybody's heads are down in their phone. It just feels better and more engaging to me anyway not to be on an electronic device while you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, especially for the first time. So the notebook's really simple. It's just got 2 columns of 16 rows with space down the middle for numbering or for checking things off, and that's indexed with dots, dividing it up into groups of 8 essentially. So you can use it for inputs, outputs, the whole thing can be inputs, whatever makes sense to you, but it's broken down into 8s so that it lines up well with all of our gear that tends to work in groups of 8. The opposing page has space to draw in a stage plot or, a quick drawing of the room, and then some room down below to be able to put phone numbers or general notes and things like that. So very simple little book. The idea was to keep it small, keep it simple, and keep it so that you can put it in a pocket without noticing that you're carrying it at all. So if you're interested, you can buy these on the website, but in the previous video I promised that I would link the actual Adobe Illustrator template file and give you all of the links you need to make these yourself. So that's what we're going to do here today. So what do we need to actually make these notebooks? I'm going to show you the tools that I chose to use and the materials that I chose, but there's no limit of different materials you can use to make these. You can choose any paper material that suits your needs, any cover material. You can make them harder, you can make them lighter, you could make them, you can make a waterproof version. So there's a million different ways to do that, and there's a million different ways to bind these. I'm doing a basic staple booklet style, again to keep it as low profile and just simple and cheap. So first thing is the paper. I like a good page, a good heavy piece of paper to write on. Sometimes I'm using Sharpies. So I chose the HP Premium Choice LaserJet. This is a 32-pound paper, 100 on the brightness, 163 on the whiteness, and this is just a really good premium heavyweight LaserJet paper. So that's been working out really well. The next thing you'll need to decide is what type of cover material you're going to want, and I just wanted a classic simple look, so I went with this stuff here, if you can see it, and this is a 67-pound vellum Bristol page. And it's a really nice material. It seems to wear well. It's got a nice feel to it in the hand. It's just got a nice texture, it's a really kind of silky, high quality feel, but it seems to wear really well. It doesn't tear or get smudged as easily as you'd expect. So that's some pretty good stuff, and not too expensive. The 67 pound is easy enough to fold, and with 20 pages and the cover, you definitely want to pay attention to what you're choosing for this cover, because if you choose something really, really heavy, you're going to have a heck of a time cutting the final books and stapling through that many pages all at once. I've had my Brother HL2170 printer for a long time now. It's a really, really good little networked laser printer, and unlike most home inkjet printers that you might have used before, these laser printers won't clog up and dry out if you don't use them for a long time. So they're a really good choice for printing at home if you don't print very often, but when you do, you need quality results. The current model is the HLL2360DW, and those are like $89. They're a great deal. Definitely only buy the factory toner replacements when you do need more ink. Just buy them. They're a little bit extra money compared to the generic stuff, but they'll actually do a much better job for you. For cutting the pages, I got this Westcott Titanium Trim Air model. This is a pretty big one. It's like 12 inches wide on the cutting surface there, and it's like a 12 by 12 cutting surface. It's a nice wood and an incredibly sharp, it's a satisfying noise, isn't it? Oh yeah. But it's got some nice safety features. It's got this nice plastic kind of springy hold down guard, so you make sure when you're actually making a cut that your fingers cannot get in the way of that blade. So definitely get something like this that's safe. And this one's right about its capacity for trimming these finished books. Any thicker or any heavier paper, this would be a real challenge to trim with this, but it does a good job for the way I've got these set up. Now again, for binding, there's a million different options, but I wanted to keep it simple, and I went with a stapler, and I chose this Boss Stitch. This is from Stanley, obviously. This is a really awesome booklet stapler, and obviously the base sets you up so that you can land those staples consistently on the fold every time. On the staple front, I chose 1/4 inch heavy duty staples from Boss Stitch. These are the SB351 1/4-5M model staple, and they've been doing a really good job. So I might try some different ones in the future, but definitely you need a heavy duty staple to get through this many pages. And for finishing work, if you choose, I think this is absolutely critical. I've got this is by KW Trio. These are available on Amazon and through a bunch of other places. I'll link this below. I don't know the model number, but this is, I believe, an 1/8 inch round for rounding the corners on the books. And these will not cut a whole book at the same time. You have to open the book when you're cutting it and do each individual corner. And it just kind of rounds over and gives a little easier, more finished feel, and makes it much easier to slide into a pocket without creasing it too bad. And definitely worth the money for that just little extra bit of finish on your books. And finally, if you want to stamp the logo, like I've got my social media handle there at DcSoundOp, so people know where to find them to reorder. And then Audio B1 is the name of this book. So if you want something like that, I'm using this little guy. It's a Excel mark. It's one of these flip up stamps, and you just get in there. They give you a ton of letters. This is the A2359 DIY because it comes as a kit with tons of letters and a little pair of tweezers, and you lock this out and get in there and put in whatever you want on the stamp, and it makes a custom stamp. You can reorganize it and make different stamps. Pretty handy little guy, and these are like $11. So you could use any type of stamp you want. You could even try printing them if you wanted, but this kind of makes a cool look, and I like it, and it's cheap and it's easy to try different things. So Excel mark, you can get these pretty much anywhere. I think they might even sell these in grocery stores, some places. So that's everything you need. The process is fairly straightforward because we're using standard like A4 style, just letter size paper. We're basically just printing them, flipping them over, printing the other side, and you'll want to take a look at your individual printer, but that's usually illustrated on the feed tray or the take-in tray which side to put in to print one side and then flip them and print the other side. So you want to make sure you get that right. Beyond that, though, we're just cutting those in half, and then we're folding them, we're stapling them, we're trimming them, trimming the edges and stamping them, and that's the whole thing. I choose to print these at a low opacity. The opacity in these books is right around like 30 or 40%. It's pretty light with the printing, but you can play around with that. I just like the way that looks. And one other tip to getting the size right is printing directly out of Adobe Illustrator. I do leave the fit to page option checked under the scaling so that it scales it a little bit smaller, because if you just print this right off the template, it'll be right out to the margins on an A4 sheet, and that doesn't quite give you the room to trim it well enough, especially with the corner rounds. And it also just makes the book a little long, personally, for putting into a pocket. This is the size you want. So I leave that resize to fit option enabled in Illustrator, and that gives me enough margin all the way around. And you'll see there's some guidelines on that template as well, so you know where to make your cuts. And then it's just a matter of trimming them up to your taste. You could spend a lot more time, if you had a nicer trimmer, you could spend a lot more time cleaning these up if you had something that could do more precise cuts on this heavy of a stack. I don't, so I'm making these just so that they fit into the pocket without snagging, and they're working just fine, really. So that's it. You're all set to make notebooks. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or email me directly. Or you could just go to the website and buy them from me, whatever is easier, because it is a little bit of money to buy all this stuff and get set up to make these. So if you only need a handful of them, I'm selling them on the website. They're cheap. If you order enough of them, I'll change the stamp and print them custom for you. And thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody who's ordered books already. I'm getting caught up with making them. I think I have enough made to fulfill all the orders now, and it's just a matter of getting them out the door when the post office opens, which isn't as simple as you might think. There's a lot of international people that bought these, so I've got to just get through the process of getting these out to different countries. Domestic will be easier. I'll slap a stamp on them, they'll be on the way, but trying to just get my head around the whole thing of how to effectively process all these orders and make them and all of that stuff and keep up with it. So keep ordering them. It's awesome, and they'll be coming out to you this week. That's it for this time, though. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and definitely head over to the website, check out the notebooks, check out the forum, and all the other resources and content. A huge thank you to those folks who have chosen to support the channel directly through Patreon. That is absolutely amazing, and to everybody else that follows the affiliate links in the description below. That helps me so much in growing this channel and continuing to make content and to make things like these notebooks. It's really awesome to have your help and support. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.